Because Lucia would have wanted it. And because you're family. He closed the door, walked around to the driver's side. Now buckle up. We're going to visit my lawyer. Sign some papers. Make it all official. Make what official? Mateo started the engine, pulled away from the curb. Rain streaked the windshield in patterns that looked like tears. Your inheritance, he said. Welcome to the Valente family, Nora. For better or worse. She looked out the window at the neighborhood disappearing behind them. Her mother's house. Her old life. Everything she thought she knew. All of it gone now. All of it transformed into something new. Something terrifying and hopeful in hers. In the distance, sirens wailed. Justice coming for Vin Rulo at last. 3 weeks passed like a fever dream. Nora signed papers she barely understood. Met lawyers in expensive suits who called her Miss Valente like it was her name and not her mother's ghost. Mateo set up trusts and accounts and investments that made her head spin. The insurance fraud investigation went public. Vin Rulo's face plastered across every news channel. Turns out he'd been scamming families for 20 years. Dozens of victims. Millions of dollars. The FBI called Nora a hero for coming forward. She didn't feel like a hero. She felt numb. The diner threw a going-away party on her last shift. Cake from the grocery store. A card everyone signed. Mike gave her a $100 gift certificate to Olive Garden and told her she'd always have a job if things didn't work out. She knew she'd never be back. Some doors close, and you feel relief, not regret. This was one of those. But there was still one door she needed to open. Her mother's house. One last time, to find what Mateo said would be there. Nora stood in the bedroom, where she'd found the lockbox. The painting was back on the wall now. The hollow space sealed up, like none of it ever happened. Except everything happened. She'd torn through the rest of the house in the weeks since, looking for the thing Mateo mentioned. The thing her mother couldn't bring herself to destroy, but couldn't bear to keep visible. The music box. It was the only item Nora kept from the original cleanout. Small, wooden, played that Italian lullaby she remembered from childhood. She'd packed in a box in the hall closet and forgotten about it, until Mateo mentioned it. Lucia always hid things in plain sight, he'd said. Made them look innocent, meaningless. Check the music box. Now Nora pulled it from the closet, set it on the empty kitchen counter, wound the key and listened to the melody play out. Tinny, sad, beautiful. When it stopped, she looked closer. The bottom was slightly raised. Not much, maybe a 1/4 inch, like there was a false bottom. She grabbed a butter knife and pried it open. Inside was a folded piece of paper, a photograph, and a key. The photograph showed her mother pregnant, glowing, happy, standing in front of this very house. 30 years younger, a whole life ahead of her. On the back, in her mother's handwriting, for Nora. When she's ready. Nora's vision blurred. She wiped her eyes and picked up the paper. It was a deed. To the house. In her name. Dated 6 months before her mother died. Lucinda had signed everything over. Made sure Nora would have something solid. Something permanent. A place to come back to if the world got too heavy. Would you keep your mother's house or sell it and start fresh? Tell me in the comments what you'd do. The key was small. Brass. Had a number stamped on it. 237. Nora didn't know what it opened. Not yet. But she would. Because her mother didn't hide things without reason. She packed up the music box. Locked the house. Drove to her apartment for the last time. Tomorrow she was moving. New place. New neighborhood. Far enough from the diner and the memories, but close enough to her mother's house to visit when she needed to. Her phone rang as she pulled into the parking lot. Mateo, did you find it? He asked. Yeah, the deed. And a key. Storage unit. Downtown facility on 5th Street. I already checked. It's paid up for the next 10 years. How did you? I told you. When Lucia went missing, I looked for her everywhere. Found the storage unit 5 years ago. Never opened it. Figured if she wanted me to know what was inside, she'd have told me. He paused. It's yours now. Whatever she left there. Nora's hands tightened on the steering wheel. What if I don't want to know? Then don't open it. Some mysteries are better left alone. He sounded tired. Older. But I think she wanted you to understand. Where she came from. Why she ran. Who she was before fear made her small. Thank you. For everything. For not killing me. Mateo laughed softly. Low bar, but you're welcome. Take care of yourself, Nora. And if you ever need anything, I'll call. Good. Family helps family. That's how it's supposed to work. He hung up. Nora sat in the car for a long time, watching her building, watching strangers come and go, living their lives, carrying their own secrets, their own grief. Tomorrow she'd go to the storage unit, open whatever her mother left behind, face the final truth. Tonight, she just wanted to sleep. She climbed the stairs to her apartment, unlocked the door, stepped inside. Everything was packed in boxes, ready to go. Her whole life reduced to cardboard and tape. She made tea, sat at the window, watched the city lights flicker in the distance. Her phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. Just one line. Your mother would be proud. No name. No signature. But Nora knew. She typed back. I hope so. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Finally. She is. The dots vanished. Nora set her phone down. Closed her eyes. Let herself cry for the first time in weeks. For her mother. For Mateo. For the family that never got to be whole. For 30 years of running and hiding and protecting people who didn't know they needed protection. And for herself, the girl who became the woman who survived. When she opened her eyes, dawn was breaking over the city. A new day, a new life. She stood, walked to the bathroom, splashed cold water on her face. In the mirror, she saw what Mateo meant. The stubborn chin, the way she held herself, ready to run or fight or both. Valente women didn't break. They just kept going. She grabbed her keys and headed for the door. The storage unit could wait. Right now, she needed coffee, needed air, needed to feel alive in her own skin. The hallway was empty. She locked up and started down the stairs. Halfway down, she noticed it. A single white rose on the bottom step. No note, no explanation, just a flower where no flower should be. Nora picked it up, turned it over. Nothing. But when she looked up, a black car was pulling away from the curb. Mateo, still watching, still protecting. She tucked the rose into her jacket pocket and smiled. Family was complicated, dangerous, built on lies and love in equal measure. But it was hers now, and she wasn't running anymore. The storage unit smelled like time forgot something important. Nora stood in the doorway, key in hand, staring at shadows she couldn't quite see. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Down the hall, someone's radio played oldies. Frank Sinatra singing about doing it his way. Unit 237 was small, maybe 10 by 10. The door rolled up with a metal scream that made her teeth ache. Inside was a single wooden trunk. Old, real old. The kind people used on ships crossing oceans. It had brass corners and a heavy lock that the key fit perfectly. Nora knelt beside it, hesitated. Once she opened this, there was no going back. No more mysteries. No more wondering. Just truth. Raw and permanent. She turned the key. The lock clicked open. Inside the trunk was a life she never knew existed. Photographs. Dozens of them. Her mother as a child in Palermo. Smiling in front of fountains and churches and tables piled with food. Her mother as a teenager, beautiful and fierce, wearing dresses that cost more than Nora made in a year at the diner. There were letters, too, tied with ribbon, written in Italian. Nora couldn't read them, but she recognized the handwriting. Her mother's. Younger. Happier. Before everything went wrong. At the bottom was a leather journal. She opened it carefully. The pages cracked with age. The first entry was dated March 1993. Dear Mateo, it began. By the time you read this, I'll be gone. Please don't look for me. Please don't hate me. I did what I had to do to keep you alive. Nora read the entire journal sitting on that concrete floor. Read about her mother's life before America. Before Nora. Before fear became a permanent resident in her bones. Lucia Valente was supposed to marry Antonio Russo, a man 3 times her age, a man who collected wives like other people collected stamps. He already had 2. Both died under mysterious circumstances. Car accidents. Falls downstairs. Bad luck that looked a lot like murder. Lucia refused. Her father raged. Threatened. Finally gave her the choice. Marry Antonio or watch Mateo take her place in the alliance. But it wasn't a marriage Mateo would be entering. It was a trap. The Russo family planned to kill him slowly. Make it look natural. Absorb the Valente territory without a fight. Lucia couldn't let that happen, so she stole evidence. Financial records, photographs, proof of crimes that would bring down both families. Hid it somewhere only she knew. Then disappeared in the middle of the night with nothing but a bag and a threat. Touch my brother, and I burn everything to the ground. They believed her. Mateo lived. But Lucia couldn't go home. Couldn't risk it. So she ran to America. Changed her name. Got pregnant by a man she met in a library who taught English and liked old movies, and died in a car accident before Nora was born. She built a small life. A safe life. A life where no one would think to look for the missing Valente daughter. And she waited. For 30 years, she waited for the danger to pass. For the old men to die. For the new generation to forget. But some debts never expire. If you discovered your mother lived an entire secret life before you existed, would you feel betrayed or grateful? Drop your thoughts below. The last entry in the journal was dated 3 days before Lucia died. Nora, it read. Different handwriting now. Shaky. Weak. If you're reading this, then Mateo found you. Good. You need family. Everyone needs family, even when it's complicated. Especially when it's complicated. I'm sorry I never told you the truth. Sorry I raised you in fear and silence. Sorry I made you believe we were small and forgettable. We were never small. We were survivors. You come from a long line of women who refused to break, who chose mercy over vengeance, who understood that real strength isn't violence. It's walking away. It's saying no when everyone expects yes. I left you the house, the money, the music box, everything I could give to make your life easier than mine. But the most important thing I'm leaving you is this. You don't owe anyone your obedience. Not me. Not Mateo. Not the ghosts of our past. You owe yourself a life I couldn't have. Live loudly. Love recklessly. Take up space. Be the Valente woman I always wanted to be, but never had the courage. I love you. I always loved you, even when I was too scared to show it. Your mother, Lucia. Nora closed the journal, pressed it to her chest, let herself sob in that storage unit, surrounded by the ruins of her mother's first life. When she finally stopped crying, she packed everything carefully back into the trunk, all except the journal that she kept. She locked the unit, walked back to her car, sat in the driver's seat with the engine off and the journal on her lap. Her phone buzzed. Mateo, did you find what you needed? He asked. Yeah. And I understand now. Why she ran. Why she stayed away. Why she never told me. Good. He paused. There's something else. Something I didn't tell you before. Nora's stomach tightened. What? The evidence Lucia stole. The records that kept me alive. She never destroyed them. Never used them. Just kept them as insurance. He sounded careful. Measured. They're in the trunk. Hidden compartment in the bottom. I need you to give them to me. Why? Because there are still people who want them. Still families who would kill to keep their secrets buried. If you keep them, you'll never be safe. But if you give them to me, I can make sure they disappear. Properly. Permanently. Nora thought about her mother. About the life she built on silence and fear. About running for 30 years with a target on her back she never saw coming. What if I want to keep them? Nora asked. What if I want the insurance? Mateo laughed softly. Then you'd be exactly like Lucia. Smart. Paranoid. Prepared for the worst. He paused. But you'd also be carrying her burden. And I don't think that's what she wanted for you. Nora got out of the car. Walked back to the storage unit. Opened it again. The trunk looked solid. No obvious compartment. But when she pressed on the bottom in just the right spot, a panel shifted. Inside was a manila envelope. Thick. Heavy. Sealed with the same red wax as Lucia's letter. She pulled it out. Stared at it. This was power. Real power. The kind that kept people alive or got them killed, depending on how they used it. She could keep it. Hide it. Use it if Mateo ever turned on her. If the family ever came calling. If the past ever caught up. Or she could let it go. Trust that Mateo meant what he said. That some debts were better forgiven than collected. Nora took a photo of the envelope with her phone. Front and back. Proof it existed. Proof she'd found it. Insurance of a different kind. Then she grabbed the envelope and drove to Mateo's office downtown. Glass building. Top floor. Views of the city that cost more than most people made in a lifetime. His secretary waved her through. No questions. No appointment needed. Matteo sat behind a massive desk, reading something on his laptop. He looked up when she entered, saw the envelope in her hands. You brought it. I'm bringing it. Doesn't mean I'm giving it yet. Nora sat down across from him. I want to know what you're going to do with it. Burn it. Every page. Every photograph. Every record. And then no one is leverage anymore. No one is blackmail. The old feuds die with the old men. The new generation gets to start clean. He leaned back in his chair. That's what Lucia wanted. That's what I want. A family that doesn't survive on fear. What if someone comes after me anyway? What if they think I still have copies? They won't, because I'm going to make it very clear that the evidence is gone. That anyone who touches you answers to me. And despite what you might think, my reputation still means something in certain circles. He smiled. You'll be protected. For life. You have my word. Nora held the envelope tighter. Your word. That's all. That's everything. In my world, word is currency. Break it and you're worth nothing. I haven't broken mine in 40 years. I'm not starting now. She believed him. Don't know why. Maybe because her mother did. Maybe because sometimes you have to trust someone or spend your whole life looking over your shoulder. Nora set the envelope on his desk. Matteo picked it up, felt the weight of it. 30 years of secrets. 30 years of Lucia's insurance policy. He walked to the fireplace in the corner of his office, tossed the envelope in. Liamach. They watched it burn together. Ashes and smoke and the ghosts of crimes no one would ever answer for now. When it was done, Matteo turned to her. Thank you. For what? For trusting me. For finishing what Lucia started. For being brave enough to let it go. Nora stood. I should get going. Still have boxes to unpack. Wait. He opened his desk drawer, pulled out a small velvet box. This belonged to our grandmother. Lucia was supposed to inherit it, but she left before the will was read. I want you to have it. Inside was a ring. Gold band. Single emerald. Simple. Beautiful. I can't accept this. You can. You will. It's family tradition. Passed from mother to daughter for 5 generations. He closed her fingers around the box. Lucia would have given it to you herself if she'd had the chance. Nora's throat tightened. Thank you. You're welcome. Now go. Live your life. Be loud. Take up space. All the things Lucia wrote about. She smiled. You read the journal. Of course I did. She was my sister. I read everything. He walked her to the door. And Nora, if you ever need anything at all, you call me. Understand? Understand. She left his office, took the elevator down, walked out into the afternoon sun. The city felt different now. Less dangerous. Less heavy. She was still Nora Crane. Still the shy waitress who never spoke too loud. But she was also Nora Valente, granddaughter of crime lords, niece of Il Justo, daughter of the woman who chose mercy over revenge. And that meant something. That meant everything. Her phone buzzed as she reached her car. Text from Matteo. P.S. The photo you took of the envelope. Smart. Delete it now. Real trust has no insurance. Nora laughed. Opened her photos. Stared at the image of the manila envelope. Hesitated. Then deleted it. Some things you had to let go completely. Some things you had to trust would work out. She drove home. Unpacked boxes. Hung pictures. Made the new apartment feel like hers. That night, she fell asleep without checking the locks 3 times. Without listening for footsteps in the hall. Without wondering if today was the day the past caught up. For the first time in 3 months, she slept through the night. No nightmares. No ghosts. Just peace. 2 months later, Nora opened Lucia's garden. Small cafe on the corner of 5th and Main. Exposed brick walls. Vintage furniture. Art from local painters covering every available space. And in the center, a mural of an Italian church surrounded by roses. The same church from the painting in her mother's bedroom. The grand opening was packed. Neighbors. Strangers. Even Mike from the diner showed up with flowers and a proud smile. Knew you had it in you, he said. Knew you were destined for more than pouring coffee. Nora hugged him tight. I'm still pouring coffee. Just in prettier cups now. The cafe did well. Better than well. People loved the atmosphere. The quiet corners for reading. The large windows for people watching. The way Nora remembered everyone's orders and asked about their lives. She hired 3 employees, 2 college kids who needed flexible hours, and Maria, a woman in her 60s who reminded Nora of her mother. Tough, kind, survivor eyes. Life settled into a rhythm. Wake up, open the cafe, make lattes and cappuccinos, and listen to other people's stories. Close up, go home, repeat. It was simple, normal, everything her mother wanted for her. But every few weeks, Nora noticed something. A black car parked across the street. Never the same car, never the same time, but always there, always watching. At first it scared her, made her think someone was coming. Someone who didn't believe the evidence was really destroyed. But then she'd find things. A rose on her doorstep. Fresh. No note. Her car registration renewed. She didn't do it. It just appeared in her mailbox. A donation to the cafe. Vishu. Enough to cover rent for 6 months. Mateo. Still protecting. Still watching. Still keeping his word. She never called him about it. Never acknowledged it. Because some kindnesses worked better in silence. One afternoon, business was slow. Just 2 customers. Students studying in the corner. Maria wiping down tables. The bell above the door chimed. Nora looked up from the espresso machine and froze. Mateo stood in the doorway. First time he'd ever come inside. He looked around slowly, taking in the mural, the art, the warmth. So this is it, he said quietly. Lucia's garden. You've been outside a dozen times, but never came in. Why now? Because I want to see if you were happy. Really happy. Not just surviving. He walked to the counter. Are you? Nora thought about it. About the early mornings and the aching feet and the customers who complained about foam ratios. About the bills and the stress and the constant worry of keeping a small business alive. About the freedom to build something that was hers. The joy of creating a space where people felt safe. The pride of carrying her mother's name into something beautiful. Yeah, she said. I am. Mateo smiled. Really smiled. The kind that reached his eyes and made him look younger. Good. Then I did my job. What job? Taking care of family. Making sure Lucia's sacrifice meant something. He glanced at the menu board. Now, I'll make me whatever you think I'd like. Surprise me. Nora made him a cappuccino. Extra foam. Touch of cinnamon. Served it in one of the vintage cups she'd found at an estate sale. Mateo took a sip. Closed his eyes. Perfection. They sat together at a corner table. Didn't talk much. Didn't need to. Just existed in the same space. Uncle and niece. Family by blood and choice. After a while, Mateo finished his coffee. Stood. I have a meeting, but I'll come back. If that's okay. It's more than okay. He headed for the door. Stopped. Your mother would be so proud of you, Nora. You took her pain and turned it into something good. That's the truest form of justice. Then he was gone. The black car pulled away from the curb. Disappeared into traffic. But Nora knew it would be back. Watching. Protecting. Some families protected through violence. Through fear and control and never letting go. Others protected through distance. Through silent support and space to breathe and trusting the people you love to find their own way. Mateo chose the second, and it made all the difference. Evening came. Customers filtered out. Maria left for the day. Nora locked up and walked home through streets that felt less lonely now. Her apartment was small, but hers. Decorated with photos of her mother. The music box on the mantel. The journal on her nightstand. She made tea. Sat by the window. Watched the city lights come alive. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Her heart still jumped. Probably always would. But the message just said, "Sleep well, little Valente." She smiled. Typed back. "You too, Uncle Mateo." 3 dots appeared. Then, always. Nora set her phone down. Pulled out the journal. Reread her mother's last entry. Live loudly. Love recklessly. Take up space. She was trying. Every day, she was trying. And maybe that was enough. Maybe that was everything. Outside, snow started to fall. First of the season. Covering the city in white. Making everything look clean. New. Full of possibility. Nora finished her tea. Got ready for bed. Climbed under the covers. Closed her eyes. And for the second time in her life, she felt safe enough to dream without fear. Tomorrow she'd wake up and do it all again. Open the cafe, serve coffee, listen to stories, build a life her mother never got to have. But tonight she rested. Tonight she was home. 6 months after opening Lucia's garden, Nora got a call that changed everything. Miss Valente, the voice was official. Sharp. This is Agent Morrison with the FBI. We need to speak with you about Vin Rulo. Her stomach dropped. I already gave my statement. Months ago. This isn't about your statement. This is about evidence that just surfaced. Can you come downtown? Today. 2 hours later, Nora sat in a gray room with gray walls and gray furniture. Agent Morrison sat across from her. 50s. Tired eyes. Stack of files that looked like they weighed 1,000 pounds. Vin Rulo kept records, Morrison said. Every scam. Every victim. Every dollar. Detailed records going back 20 years. Okay. Your mother's name appears 17 times in his files. He'd been tracking her since 2008. Knew who she really was. Knew about the Valente connection. Been planning to blackmail her for years. Nora's hands clenched. So he didn't just kill her on impulse. He'd been stalking her. Correct. And here's where it gets interesting. Morrison opened one of the files. Pushed a document across the table. 3 weeks before your mother died, Vin took out a life insurance policy on her. Forged her signature. Listed himself as beneficiary. $800,000. But I got the payout. You got a payout. From a different policy. One your mother actually took out years ago with Matteo D'Angelo as beneficiary. She changed it to you 6 months before she died. All legal. All legitimate. Morrison tapped the forged document. Vin's policy was fraud. He killed your mother thinking he'd collect. But the insurance company flagged it as suspicious. Froze the funds. Started investigating. Nora, try to process this. So, there were 2 policies? 2 payouts. Correct. Vin killed Lucia for money he was never going to get. And he tried to steal yours to cover his losses. He didn't just murder your mother. He murdered her for nothing. The words landed like punches. Her mother died for $800,000 that didn't exist. For a con man's greed and desperation. Why are you telling me this? Morrison leaned forward. Because Vin's going to trial next month. And we need you to testify. Tell the jury about the harassment. The threats. The night he attacked you. Your testimony could put him away for life. Matteo's men already testified. The hospital records prove he killed my mother. Why do you need me? Because you're the human element. You're the daughter. The victim. Juries need to see the real cost of what he did. Not just numbers and documents. But actual pain. Actual loss. Morrison's expression softened. I know it's asking a lot. But your mother deserves justice. Real justice. Not just prison. But acknowledgement. Recognition that her life mattered. Nora stared at the document. At Vin's forged signature. At her mother's name written in his handwriting like she was just another mark. Another target. Would you testify against the man who killed your mother? Or would you let others handle it? Comment what you do. I'll do it, Nora said. When's the trial? Morrison smiled. 3 weeks. We'll prep you. Go over questions. Make sure you're ready. I'm ready now. The agent gathered her files. Stood. One more thing. Matteo D'Angelo. We know he's been protective of you. We need you to understand that if he interferes with this trial in any way, we'll have to take action. He won't interfere. He wants Vin in prison as much as you do. Good. Because the last thing we need is vigilante justice complicating things. Nora almost laughed. Matteo already had his justice. The quiet kind. The kind where Vin spent 3 terrified days thinking he was going to be tortured to death before Matteo handed him over to the FBI. Sometimes mercy was the cruelest punishment of all. The trial was a media circus. News cameras. Reporters. Vin's lawyer arguing it was all a misunderstanding. A tragique accident. His client never meant any harm. Nora sat in the witness box in a simple black dress. Hands folded. Voice steady. She told the jury everything. The diner. The accusation. The envelope. The lockbox. Finding her mother's secrets. Vin's threats. The knife. The morphine. The 30 years her mother spent running from a past that caught up anyway. She cried twice. Once when describing her mother's last night alive. Once when she realized Lucia died alone because Nora was working a double shift at the diner. The jury cried too, then sat at the defense table looking small. Pathetic. Nothing like the monster who'd haunted her nightmares. Just a middle-aged con man who got greedy and killed the wrong person. The verdict came back in 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. Murder, fraud, extortion, stalking, life in prison. No parole. Nora walked out of the courthouse into afternoon sun. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. She ignored them all. A black car waited at the curb. Mateo in the back seat. He opened the door. She climbed in. They drove in silence for a while. City streets giving way to suburbs, giving way to countryside. Finally, Mateo spoke. How do you feel? Empty, relieved, sad, all of it. That's normal. Justice doesn't make grief disappear. It just gives it a place to rest. They pulled up to a cemetery. Small, quiet, trees everywhere. Mateo led her to a grave near the back. Fresh flowers already waiting. Lucia Valente, beloved sister, mother, survivor 1973 to 2024. Nora knelt beside it, touched the cold stone. When did you add the headstone? Last month. Figured she deserved to be remembered for who she really was, not who she pretended to be. She would have hated the attention, probably, but she's not here to argue. Mateo knelt beside her. I come every week. Tell her about the cafe, about you, about how her sacrifice wasn't wasted. Does it help? Talking to her. Sometimes. Other times it just reminds me of everything we lost. He placed his hand on the stone. But loss is better than forgetting. And silence is better than lies. They stayed until the sun started setting, until shadows grew long and the temperature dropped. As they walked back to the car, Nora asked the question that had been bothering her for months. Did you know Vin was stalking her? Before she died, Mateo stopped, looked at her with those ancient sad eyes. No, if I had, he would have disappeared years ago. Quietly, permanently. No trial, no circus. Just gone. I'm glad you didn't know then. Why? Because this way, everyone knows what he did. Everyone knows my mother's story. She spent 30 years invisible. Now she's remembered. That matters more than revenge. Mateo smiled. You really are Lucia's daughter. She would have said the same thing. They drove back to the city. Mateo dropped her off at the cafe. You gonna be okay? He asked. Eventually. Yeah. Good. Because I'm throwing you a party next week. Lucia's Garden's first anniversary. Big celebration. Family only. I don't have any family. Just you. You'd be surprised. Valentines are everywhere. They just don't advertise it. He winked. Wear something nice. And bring that ring I gave you. Time you started wearing it. The car pulled away. Nora unlocked the cafe. Walked inside. The space smelled like coffee and cinnamon and safety. She turned on the lights, started prep for tomorrow. Ground beans, wiped counters, arranged chairs. Her phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number, but she knew who it was. Vin's office burned down last night. Electrical fire. No casualties, but all his remaining records? Gone. Completely destroyed. Funny how that works. Nora smiled. Quiet justice. The kind that didn't shout. The kind that just fixed things and walked away. She typed back. Very funny. 3 dots. Then, thought you'd appreciate it. Sleep well, little Valente. You too, Uncle Mateo. She locked up. Walked home. Climbed into bed with her mother's journal. Reread the last entry one more time. Be the Valente woman I always wanted to be, but never had the courage. Nora was trying. Every single day, she was trying. And maybe, finally, she was succeeding. 1 year after opening Lucia's Garden, Nora stood in front of a room full of strangers who weren't strangers at all. They were family, cousins she'd never met, distant relatives from Italy, people with the Valente name who'd spent decades scattered across the world, hiding from the same ghosts that haunted her mother. Mateo had found them, called them, told them it was safe now. The old feuds were dead. The old men were gone. Time to come home. 15 people showed up. 15 pieces of a family tree Nora didn't know existed. They filled the cafe, brought wine and pasta and stories that made everyone laugh and cry. They hugged her like they'd known her forever. Called her cousin. Called her blood. You look just like Lucia, an elderly woman said. A un troza. Mateo's cousin. Same eyes. Same stubborn mouth. Everyone keeps saying that. Because it's true, and it's a compliment. Lucia was the bravest of all of us. She said no when everyone else said yes. Walked away when everyone else stayed. We should have followed her. Would have saved us all a lot of pain. The party lasted until midnight. Food, wine, music, dancing. Nora learned Italian phrases from her cousins. Learned family recipes from Aunt Rosa. Learned that the Valente family wasn't defined by crime or violence or fear anymore. It was defined by the people who chose to stay, who chose each other. As people started leaving, Matteo pulled her aside, led her to the mural of the Italian church. I have something for you. He handed her an envelope, cream-colored, expensive, her name written in elegant script. What is this? Open it. Inside was a plane ticket. To Palermo, Italy. Leaving next month. I can't afford to close the cafe for. Already handled. Maria's going to manage while you're gone. She's been training for this. He smiled. You need to see where you come from. Where Lucia came from. The church in this mural. The streets she walked. The life she left behind. I don't speak Italian. You will. I'm sending you with a translator. And a guide. And probably too much money, knowing me. He touched her shoulder. Every Valente needs to make the pilgrimage home at least once. To understand. To remember. To know we're more than our worst moments. Nora looked at the ticket. At the dates. At the destination. Will you come with me? No. This is something you need to do alone. Well, alone-ish. There'll be family there. Waiting to meet you. To welcome you home. His eyes got shiny. But I'll be here when you get back. Making sure the cafe's still standing. Making sure you still have a home to return to. Thank you. For everything. For not giving up on me. Thank you for giving an old man a reason to be better than he was. He hugged her. Tight. Now go enjoy your party. This is your night. The last guest left at 1 in the morning. Nora cleaned up alone. Washed dishes. Put away chairs. Swept floors. Her phone buzzed. Text from a number she didn't recognize. Miss Valente, this is Agent Morrison. Just wanted you to know Vin Rulo suffered a heart attack in prison tonight. Died en route to the hospital. Thought you'd want to know. Nora stared at the message. Dead. The man who killed her mother. Who stalked her for years. Who tried to steal everything. Gone. She should have felt something. Relief. Satisfaction. Closure. Instead, she just felt tired. She typed back. Thank you for letting me know. Morrison replied. For what it's worth, your testimony made a difference. 12 other families came forward after your trial. Vin's entire network is being dismantled. Your mother's death meant something. Nora set her phone down, walked to the window, looked out at the empty street, the quiet city, the world moving forward whether she was ready or not. A black car sat across the street. Headlights off, engine running. Matteo, always watching, always there. She grabbed her coat, walked outside, crossed the street, knocked on the window. It rolled down. Matteo looked at her. You okay? Vin's dead. I heard. Did you? No. Heart attack. Natural causes. Sometimes karma doesn't need help. It just shows up when it's supposed to. He looked genuinely sad. I know you wanted him to suffer longer. To pay more. Actually, I'm glad it's over. Glad he's not taking up space in my head anymore. Glad I can stop looking over my shoulder. She smiled. My mother spent 30 years running from ghosts. I'm not doing that. I'm choosing to stand still. To build something permanent. To be loud instead of invisible. Good? That's exactly what Lucia would have wanted. Will you stop watching my cafe now? Stop sending anonymous donations and paying my rent and leaving roses? Matteo laughed. Probably not. Old habits and all that. But I'll be more subtle about it. You're not subtle at all. Then I'll try harder. Nora leaned against the car. I'm going to Italy next month. Matteo's sending me. I know. I helped him plan it. Of course you did. She shook her head. What am I going to find there? Family. History. Yourself. He started the engine. Now go home. Get some sleep. Tomorrow's a big day. Why? What's tomorrow? The day you stop being haunted and start being free. He drove away. Nora stood on the empty street. Looked up at the sky. Stars hidden behind city lights, but they're all the same. Constant. Belmano. She thought about her mother, about the life she built in silence, the sacrifices she made, the love she couldn't always show. She thought about Mateo, about the man who came for revenge and found family instead, who chose mercy over violence, who proved that people could change. She thought about herself, the shy waitress who inherited a war and turned it into peace, who took her mother's pain and built a garden, who chose to be loud instead of small. And she realized something. Justice doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it looks like a cafe full of family. Sometimes it sounds like laughter instead of screams. Sometimes it feels like finally being able to breathe without fear. Her mother gave her life so Nora could have one, and Nora refused to waste it. She walked home, unlocked her apartment, made tea, sat by the window, pulled out her mother's journal one last time, read the final entry, memorize the words, live loudly, love recklessly, take up space. She was doing it every day, in every small way, and tomorrow she'd do it again. The next day, and the next, and the next, until living loudly wasn't brave anymore. It was just living. Nora fell asleep with her mother's ring on her finger, the emerald catching moonlight, a promise made across generations. We survive. We endure. We rise. Outside, a single white rose appeared on her doorstep. No note, no explanation, just a flower where no flower should be. A reminder that family protects, even in silence, even from a distance, even when you don't know they're there. Nora's story wasn't over. It was just beginning. But that's the thing about quiet justice. It doesn't end with explosions and grand gestures. It ends with a woman opening a cafe, with a man leaving flowers, with a family learning to forgive. It ends with peace. And sometimes, peace is the loudest victory of all. So what would you do? If you inherited a war, would you fight or would you build? If you discovered your mother's darkest secret, would you run or would you honor it? If someone offered you revenge or mercy, which would you choose? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Tell us what quiet justice means to you. Share this story with someone who needs to hear that strength isn't always loud, that forgiveness isn't weakness, that family is who shows up when everything falls apart. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications, because every week we bring you stories that challenge, inspire, and remind you that humanity is complicated, beautiful, and worth fighting for. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of this family. Until next time, remember, you don't have to be loud to be powerful. You just have to be true. See you in the next story.